So energy production.
We need some global warming.
We're going to cancel the Paris Climate Agreement.
Global warming is not a problem.
The first event that our social science club is organizing in collaboration with the Social and Behavioral Science and Human Services Department, North Regional Broward Library, and our dear students from the Environmental Caucus of Broward Democratic Party. The goal of our social science club over the semester in the election year is to educate students and the public about the environmental challenges that our country and our region is facing in the near future, and encourage everyone involved to seek solutions and do something about it as soon as possible. This issue will affect us young people very much, and that is why we think it is important to raise awareness about it. Our next big event is our third annual Environmental Justice Fair and Symposium, which is happening on February 27th on our campus courtyard on the other side of campus, and we invite all of you to attend that event as well. We are very proud to say that our 60-year-old Broward College is the only place in the entire state of Florida that is regularly holding an event on environmental justice, and we are very proud of that. So again, please enjoy the event on February 27th. Today we have several distinguished guests who are here to discuss with us the issue of climate change and how our county is dealing with it. We have Dr. Samantha Danchuk, the Assistant Director of the Environmental Planning and Community Resilience Division of Broward County, where she leads the implementation of the county's climate action plan and the energy and sustainability programs activities. We will talk to Dr. Danchuk after the film, which we are going to see shortly. But before we begin, we are also very honored to have with us Commissioner Bean Furr, who is currently a co-chair of the Broward County Climate Change Task Force, and we would like him to briefly address us.
Well, thank you. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Glad to see so many people here. It's good. My name is Bean Furr. I'm the County Commissioner and co-chair of the Climate Change Task Force for Broward County. And I'm intrigued. I'm looking forward to seeing the film. And I'm sure everybody probably knows where that kind of comes from when our president basically said we were only going to be worried about locally, or America, and not the entire world. And unfortunately, I think what we're seeing is we're not seeing a lot of federal policies at all that are dealing with these. And so it starts to fall on local politics to try to deal with climate change. That is a big ask. But it's not one that we're not willing to take on that challenge. We're willing to do it. And actually Broward County is one of the, really, you should be proud of this, but we are right among the most progressive counties in the United States with this. We actually established a climate change coalition. It's the Southeast Florida Regional Compact with Palm Beach, Broward County, Dade County, and Monroe. Those four counties pulled together all of their resources to take a look at what's going on with climate change and what would we be doing about that. They actually, you're going to hear Samantha Danchuk later. She's actually one of the scientists with our county. They actually came to an agreement on projections. In particular, the unified sea level projection. In other words, everybody's talking about, we know there's change, we know there's going to be sea level rise, all those things, but how much? And when? And what should we be looking forward to? So our counties had all our scientists getting together with a lot of academic institutions and developed the unified sea level curve. Why do you need that? Because we need to know how high people need to build things. If we're building a sewer plant or a wastewater treatment plant, we can't build it at the level it is right now. We have to look 50 and 100 years down the road, and so we are now requiring those elevations to go into effect. So we are actually doing a lot of those kind of things. We're doing hydrologic modeling so that we know where the groundwater is right now and where we expect it to be with sea level. Because we know, a lot of us just think, well, we're going to watch the ocean and see well, that's not the only place it's coming. Because it's coming from below, it's coming from the Everglades, kind of we're surrounded. We have here Tom O'Hare who has been one of the writers with the Invading Seas. And I I know you like that title. I hate that title because it just sounds like there's no hope. I have hope, but there is some accuracy there because the water is coming from all sides. So we're having to look at these things. The hard part is, on a county level, we can marshal all the resources that we have, and we are. You see in our comp plan, you see in everything that we can. We are embedding it in every decision that we can. If every county has to do a comprehensive plan. And when any builder's coming in, when any developer's coming in, this is part of the plan. It would be nice if there was a federal plan. That's what this is speaking to. It would be nice if we were able to marshal all the resources that we have. It would be nice if the subsidies that were being given to the oil industry were being able to be given to the solar industry, etc. We try to make sure we bring all our resources. We have programs called like PACE, which if you own a house, you can actually get, and may not be able to afford to have solar put on or your roof done or impact windows and those kind of things. Because the federal government isn't providing these kind of resources, we said we're going to do it. And so now, thousands of people in Broward County are taking advantage of these programs and putting solar on, and they're paying it over a long time period on their tax bill. So that's one of the ways that we can fund things. But one of our main things really is we've been having to build awareness. And I think we've been doing it, going to things like this, going to the business community, anywhere and everywhere. And we're actually starting to see a tipping point where most, you're seeing it in the presidential primaries now. You're seeing it starting to talk about. It's no longer just on the side. I think we're all aware we've got to be on board with this. So I could go on and on this. I'm happy to take questions, but maybe I have a film to see. But I do want to thank you for just allowing me to kind of letting you know your government is at this on the local level, because we're not going to be waiting for the federal government. Surely we're not waiting for the state government, because for the past 10 years we weren't seeing any movement at all. We are seeing some movement now. But on the local level, your local government is on board and doing everything we can. So with that, I'm happy to take questions, but I think you want to go on to this.
Yeah, let's do it after.
That's fine.
Let's go ahead and do
Thank you.
We are also honored to have with us Mr. Tom O'Hara, the project editor of the NBC South Florida Media Collaborative. We very much appreciate his work and his presence today, and would like him to have a few words on how Media Collaborative is addressing the challenge of rising sea here in South Florida. For most of us, just a few feet above sea level.
So I edit this website, and it started out as a collaboration from the Miami Herald, the Palm Beach Post, the Sunset, and WLRN, and it was originally addressing just sea level rise in South Florida. But since, and it's been going on for about 2 years, basically we take opinion pieces by people who know what they're talking about. We post them on the website, and then I distribute them to 26 news organizations throughout the state of Florida now. We've expanded the topic from sea level rise in South Florida to the entire state and the environment. And there's no shortage of people who are studying this issue in Florida. And so I get a lot of contributions, more so now than obviously when it started. It's developing a reputation of some sort. So I just want you to be aware that it exists. You can see up there at invadingc.com if you want to check it out. If you know anybody who is an expert on Florida and climate issues, contact me here. I'm always looking for people who are willing to contribute to the thing. We don't pay any money, but our So with that, I just wanted to make you aware of it. It's been going on for 2 years. It's sort of gathering a greater momentum. As being said, this idea of climate change, climate crisis, call it what you will, is not an obscure topic anymore. We talk about on all levels of government and society, and even more importantly, businesses. Businesses are starting to pay attention, which is where you want people with the money to care. So, anyway, things are being done, and just want you to be aware of it. Thank you.
And without further ado, we will now watch the documentary Paris, Pittsburgh, and we'll have a discussion afterwards.
All right, then I'm going to make a short kind of interjection saying that we will not watch the entire movie because it will take the whole time for discussion. So we'll watch about 36 minutes of it, which will give us a sense of what the movie is talking about. In fact, just like the commissioners have said, movie is talking the federal government is not doing anything, so now he discusses how local governments and businesses are responding to it, and in fact making the difference. So let's see.
We're going to cancel the Paris Climate Agreement.
Global warming is not a problem.
What is climate change? Is it truly man-made?
The most insidious enemies of freedom is the environmental movement.
The dirty energy industries have enormous access.
There are real profound changes that occur when it comes to climate change. We have a problem, and that problem is getting worse.
As we announced, we would like to have some discussion with Dr. Danchuk, Samantha Danchuk, the Assistant Director of Environmental Planning and Community Resilience Division of our county, and she leads implementation of our county climate change, climate action plan. So she's definitely a right person to speak to about what our county is doing and where is the place for us. I purposely wanted us to see, I mean, we have a mixed audience. First of all, we immensely appreciate our guests. Please, always, this is a community college and we love to serve you as well, right? But it is also our students, mostly today students from national government class, so we're learning about the importance of policies. And I purposely wanted to stop at this moment, so because students also need to realize that this is an opportunity for you. The paradigm shift in economy from one to another, it presents opportunity for people like you who are now going to college. So Dr. Danchuk will first tell us a few words about what the county is doing, and then we can maybe engage her with questions, difficult questions. Remember, we want to highlight how excellent we are. All right.
Thank you. Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today, and thank you for coming out to really focus on what is our most important issue at the moment. So I do work with the Environmental Planning and Community Resilience Division at Broward County. One of the divisions that really is helping to take the lead on our climate resilience planning, as well as our greenhouse gas emissions reduction. But I think I first wanted to start with so much of the movie was really focusing on how important leadership is, right, and our elected officials. And I know you've already heard from Commissioner Furr today, but I've been with the county about 5 years, and I've seen firsthand that all of the work that I'm going to kind of share with you at the moment, the policies that have been passed, really have been championed by Commissioner Furr, and he's really the reason. Broward County is a national leader in climate resilience, and we receive that comment internationally. People are aware of what the work that Broward County has been doing. So just to start off, because greenhouse gas emissions are so important, the county does have a goal to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 80% by 2050, and that is no small task. We inventory, we have since 2007, the greenhouse gas emissions that the county is producing both from electricity use and transportation. And right now we're emitting about 13 tons per person. And so when I think about a ton, this room may hold maybe 3 tons of greenhouse gas emissions when you think about the air. So think about 13 just yourself per year, however long you've lived here. We need to reduce that down to about 1.5 tons so that we can stay under that 2 degrees Celsius. And so that's hard to visualize, but what that means is drastic changes in the way, in our lifestyle, basically. It's not just about switching to renewable energy, which is incredibly important, and the county is making investments both at rooftop solar, solar canopies for parking lots. They have an ongoing solar co-op so that you can actually put solar on your own home or wherever you live, and a kind of a group buyout program so that you can have bulk discount savings in doing that. We also work with our utility, FPL, and the programs that they have available. The county is actually subscribed to a program that is coming together called Solar Together to offset their entire energy usage by county buildings through the Solar Together program, offset by solar farms that are being built in Central Florida. So we don't have the space here necessarily to build the solar farms that you saw in the movie, but we are subscribed to a program that allows us to buy into that so we can offset that. But just to emphasize, so it's not just about switching to renewable energy, but reducing our energy use. And I know this is a message that Commissioner Schaffer has been saying. It's not just about recycling, it's about reusing. It's about trying to change the way that we are consuming. Because over just as much of our greenhouse gas emissions that are derived from electricity and transportation are derived from consumption. And so that's really, really important piece that we need to think about. And in watching the movie, I think it gave a great example of the urgency of the issues, but there's so much that we need to do on an individual basis. So the reason we're trying to reduce greenhouse gas emissions is so that we're slowing the rate of sea level rise. We have been planning to date for 2 feet of sea level rise by 2060. We have just updated our unified sea level rise projection that the 4 counties uses, and we're now possibly planning for upwards of like 40 inches by 2070. And so we can handle that. I'm an engineer, I'm a coastal engineer. I can tell you a million different ways that we can flood proof our communities, your individual homes, and build the systems that are needed in order for us to handle the initial sea level rise. What we don't want to get into is a scenario where we're talking about more sea level rise than that, because it really starts to be very, very expensive and starts to be a challenge. So just to kind of touch on quickly some of the really key climate resilience policies that the county has passed. So the first thing was to maintain our drainage capacity and passing a future groundwater table map that requires that any drainage for any new development actually has to be designed to where the future groundwater table will be. For every foot that the ocean rises, the groundwater table under our feet is rising a foot. That means the rain can't soak into the soil, it just ponds at the top. And so we need to design around that. The second is a tidal flood barrier policy. So that is regionally consistent, meaning that when we have seawalls, if you have a seawall here, or if maybe you have a berm next door, the water is going to come in through the gaps. And you may have seen some of the king tide flooding that's been happening, right? And usually in the fall season. If we don't address that, more water is coming in from the ocean faster than we could ever pump around. So we really need to seal in the gaps and address that. And that policy just passed in January. The third is the update of the 100-year community flood map. So you may know if you're in a flood zone for your homes or your properties. And those maps are continually updated by FEMA for the purposes also of setting insurance requirements. Separate from that, Broward County has always had its own flood map that includes future conditions, sea level rise, rise in the groundwater table, future rainfall projections. We know that rainfall is going to be more intense than it is today in these really severe storms. So all of that is incorporated in modeling that the county has been investing in for over 10 years, and this updated map is coming forward that will set the elevations for finished floor elevations for the new structures that are being built, so that we can be out of harm's way and reduce our risk. So those are just a couple of things that I'd really rather have some discussion.
Right, thank you. So now we can open the questions for you. Before we continue, I'd like to mention that we have also here with us Linda Thompson-Gonzalez. She's running for District 93, I believe. We appreciate you. Yes.
Thank you.
And we also have our friends from the Environmental Caucus of Broward, Democratic Party. We have to say we are not a partisan organization, and believe me, every time I do events, I encourage all others, and some of you have visited other events we're doing. We encourage all other interesting parties or interested parties in the issue to attend, but sometimes some groups are more involved than others, and as a result, we have our environmental caucus here today with us, and in fact, they were really instrumental in providing this for us. They're trying to, if you're interested, you can join us. But let's see now the question, the small, advertisement.
Hi, my name is Jibbersi, and what I would like to know is more about the investment that we're going into. I know that you said that the county is investing, but I wanted to know where that money is coming from, and more so if there's a way like actual county citizens can actually invest in, I don't know, just like when they were building rails and stuff, people were able to invest in that, and if residents of Brown County can actually do that in the renewable plan that is being built.
So I think I hear two questions. So if you'll join me as far as answering a question about how the county can make additional renewable investments, but just really quickly about the residents. So FPL is our utility, and there is the Solar Now program that you can actually add. I think it's like $9 to your monthly bill, and it's a voluntary program, and so that you can subscribe to them building additional renewable energy facilities and actually offsetting your energy. So that is
That's with the PACE program, but I will tell you on a large scale, when we're looking to totally change the way we're doing recycling in this county, and we're going to be asking entrepreneurs, inventors, how and what they can do with those resources. What are we going to do with all the leftover plastic? What are we going to do with all those different things? And we're going to be finding ways to incentivize investments in those categories.
Here.
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much for all that you are doing.
Good to see you.
Thank you. I know that FPL has a solar program. I was just curious, what is the percentage of their clean energy, renewable energy that they have committed to use as energy sources? What percentage are they committed to?
I know that they from now on they are planning on building more solar than using fossil fuel. In fact, and the reason is, as you can imagine, it's cheaper now. Where before, so when I talked with the heads of those guys, they're saying that's where they're going now. So I don't know what the percentage is, but I know that we are in constant contact with them and trying to get our entire fleet up and running and trying to get electric charging stations. We are wanting to put together an entire network in this county and actually work with the other counties, both Miami-Dade and Palm Beach, so that it's okay to buy an electric car. You're not going to get stuck. We need those kind of charging stations, just like there's gas stations everywhere. We need those in all kind of places. So and part of the discussion is working with FPL to make that happen.
One of our student letters has a question.
Okay.
Good afternoon, sir. I have a question. As we know, Broward County is actually a growing population, so the landfill as well is growing as well. What if Broward County plan on lowering the amount that's going inside the landfills and the gas is releasing as well?
What we're trying to do is keep it from going higher. And part of putting together an entire comprehensive waste system is to do that. As you've probably seen Mount Trashmore out there by Pompano. Actually, not that far from here. And that's the only, we don't have any place to put our garbage, but we need to be responsible for our own garbage. A lot of them, right now, as you imagine, there's a lot of methane comes out of there, which is a lot of the gases. That's actually being captured. It has to be captured legally. So they capture that in the original incinerators, the one that was down in it was Hollywood and the one that's in Pompano. Both of those were created, and they actually created electricity. And I forgot how much, but quite a bit. And we would, that's, unfortunately, one of those incinerators got closed because of just a lot of politics. And it's a shame, because it's not in use anymore. And when that closed, that landfill started to grow more and more, which is why we're back to what I was talking about before. We have to put together an entire comprehensive waste policy. One of those we'll start to be looking at maybe another incinerator, but also using those leftover plastics to turn things into jet fuels and all kinds of stuff. So I don't see it getting lower, but what we're trying to do is keep it from getting higher. Our goal is to reduce and recycle everything we can. What we can't recycle or reuse, we'll burn to turn into electricity. What we can't burn, that's the landfill should be the last resort.
Actually, I'm glad you mentioned the first topic to be the topic of wastewater, right? And we have this catch-22. I don't know how much most of the people here are aware, but nowadays we pay for wastewater more than we pay for drinking water. At least I'm always shocked by my bill. And you know, when you hike up the prices that much, you actually encouraging us to work harder, spend more energy to collect that money, to pay. You know, there is that cycle when the prices are high, you know, that effects on the environment are not that direct, right? So, how can that be reduced? How can that price of consumption be reduced, or rather price of, you know, wastewater kind of, how would I say it? The price that we pay for wastewater be reduced?
So that's not a simple question, right? One thing I will say, the county is very interested, or we will hopefully be putting forward a budget, a request to test. To Commissioner First's point, innovation is really important. We're looking for technology that solves complicated problems like this. There is one system that's available that actually can process wastewater on site. So within your home, if it's in your garage, it's the size of a refrigerator, and it can like supposedly process like 60%, right? And so
that reduces
yeah,
the price
so then,
for the homeowner.
That's right. So then the rest still goes to the main central system. One of the reasons we had more wastewater to process than we would like is because we have infiltration in pipes. So a lot of cities have been doing master planning efforts to improve their stormwater, you know, if they had combined system, actually they don't. So trying to make sure that pipes are as efficient as possible so that there's no kind of, you know, leaks in the system and things like that. That's one thing.
I know, but what I'm trying to say, like, look, the incentives are created in a way kind of a little bit problematic. Basically, they measure how much water I use, and they assume that all that water is being kind of going into the ground. So
it's a 2-to-1 ratio.
Right. So, you know, not everybody is doing that. You know, I'm not really wasting all the water I'm using. And I wish we could create a model, I don't know, do you even think about it, where we could be incentivized to cleverly use that water.
The actual formula is, however much drinking water you use, your sewer bill gets charged 2 times that for sewer. So it actually it's triple your usage, and that's how your water bill is determined. But I will say, and you're not going to like the answer, water is going to get more expensive. It's not going to get cheaper. And the fact of the matter is, what we really need to get to, this is my opinion, but I think it's shared by a lot, is a process called advanced water treatment. And that's where you take the wastewater and you turn it back into fresh water. It is used in many, many places. But unfortunately right now, we're sending a whole lot of our water, our fresh water, down into the boulders where we never see it. Or it ends up going out into the ocean where we don't know. But that means all this fresh water that, right now our freshwater system, if you look at our aquifer, we're depleting that. We're depleting our drinking water supply below us. It's actually going down, 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 down. When that starts to happen, you start to have saltwater intrusion. Am I right? I didn't see it anyway, to some extent. And instead of getting rid of all that, you're seeing a lot of places. Monroe County just went to advanced water treatment. It is more expensive, but they're not sending all of their wastewater, you know, treatment that's been treated out into the oceans, which has a whole other effects, killing coral reefs and all kinds of stuff. So it's not getting. The political answer would say I'd love to find one. It's not going to get cheaper.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Alan. My family. So after watching this film, it's kind of scary because I've lived in Broward my whole life, and my family owns multiple homes here. And so my question is, what, like as an individual, what can I do to basically lower my greenhouse gases in a major way? And like, so when it, so electric, like the panels and all that, that's like kind of expensive and it's bigger. So what is something that someone, like one person can do, you know what I mean, to, in a sense?
I wanted to give you this. This is it. This is Broward County's climate change action plan. Very few communities have this. And Samantha has done a fantastic job on this, along with Climate Change Task Force and your whole division. I strongly suggest going on Broward County, go to broward.org, and you'll see all kind of things you can do, kind of solutions, what the county's working on, what the goals, what the objectives are, how we're planning on dealing with it. Okay? And it gets down into the granularity that I think you're looking for.
But if I could just give you a couple, like 1, 2, 3.
Can you take a microphone, please?
So over half our emissions now, it's actually switched, are coming from transportation. So if you can take fewer trips, either by walking, if you can work closer to home, that's great, right? You're commuting less. If you can drive electric, that's excellent, right? Nice rideshare programs and whatnot. But that, it's switching it to an energy, renewable energy source would be excellent. But those are really, and look at what you're consuming, right? If we're buying plastic bottles, all of that upstream requirements, greenhouse gas emissions that were created just to create the products that we're buying, really, really important.
My question is for Dr. Samantha. I was just wanting to know how important is the education of the public in your efforts to kind of reduce the effects of climate change in Broward County?
So it's primary, right? We don't have the public support or the public interest in the processes. That's not getting communicated to the elected officials. The elected officials are approving our, $5 billion budget every year, and that money needs to be spent on everything it takes to run the county, but especially resilience projects and greenhouse gas mitigation efforts. So it is critical to have public support, and I would say we are giving over 100 public presentations a year. We have a very small staff of 4 people, but we are trying to get out there as often as possible. We have a youth climate summit because we know we need all the generations that are coming to understand these issues firsthand, not just so that they're planning their careers around it and their lifestyle, but really so that we're just kind of ingraining it as this is it's not just an election term, it's not just however long an individual works for the county, it's not how long you live, one generation in Broward County, but this is a 100-year plus effort that we need to maintain.
If we can go back just for a minute to the landfill issue. We live in Wilmore, and recently, this year specifically, the amount of garbage, the amount of recycling or the type of recycling that goes into the recycle bin has changed. While there are postings on the door, what we should put and we shouldn't put, it seems that education-wise, which is a cheap way of trying to reduce the amount of recycling that goes into the garbage, I think it's necessary. People...
You're 100% correct, and we used to do that.
But then you have lots of students here who could come to Wilmore and give us, because I think that we have come, we've come to the conclusion that most of the recycle bins that we have are actually contaminated and they will end up in the garbage, thus they will end up in the landfill. And if we want to reduce that part of help the environment by reducing the garbage that we have, I think that this is one step that can help us.
In 1986 to 2013, we had a comprehensive waste program. Every city sent all of their waste to the 2 incinerators, and it was not going to the landfill. That thing imploded. That coalition fell apart in 2013. We are in the process of putting it back together. While it was together, 12% of all the tipping fees, a good part of that went into an educational campaign. That money is not available right now. So part of putting all this back together and pulling all the cities back into doing this is for them to also recognize it's short-sighted to only look at tipping fees. You have to look at the educational campaign, the entrepreneurship, and all those things. We are working on it. In fact, next Tuesday, every city is coming, and all their technical staff. So we're close. Our goal is to have to make a decision by April to what kind of governmental system we will have. And I'm hoping, whether or not it's a independent system, well, my hope is by springtime, we have a decision for it.
Excellent, thank you. One final thing, the EPA is meeting this year in Florida on February 27th. I know because they, on the same day when we hold our environmental justice symposium. That's interesting. Do you have any kind of issues? Help from federal government, help from EPA, or this is just federal government is completely in a different direction?
Well, we work with the federal government regularly. EPA has been a sponsor specifically for a project in Dana Beach to look at decision-making criteria, because it's obviously very difficult to figure out what to fund and when and how to build these resilience projects. So we work with them on a tool there. They've provided technical assistance in other ways as well. We work with the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration regularly because of the tide gauges that they maintain for us and all the technical.
So the federal government is not really completely close to
not at all. And all the money that's coming from the state that assists us through federal, are essentially originally federal grants.
And we're actually going to, there's a lot of programs where we're working on coral reef stuff using the EPA. In fact, they're doing all the research and all the stuff here in Broward County. I think it's at the University of Florida Extension. So that's monitoring all the waters, 100 different places up and down, is it just Broward? No, it's actually all the way up and down the coast. 100 different places where they're every single day they're monitoring. So we're working with the EPA on a lot of things.
Excellent, thank you. So let's give a round of applause.